Hey everyone, it's Teddy, aka James Kazal on MTGO, and I wanted to go over a league I recently played. Now, nowadays when I'm playing MTGO, I'm usually recording for the channel. I don't have that much time to play, but it was a holiday yesterday, so I thought I'd just relax and play a league, and it turns out I got a trophy. So I wanted to go over the replay just to keep everyone updated and show what the deck is doing in the new meta. I think it's really important right now. Um, and I feel like I've been really good at documenting my trophies recently, so I'll just make a little replay video. And I've also heard that some of y'all prefer the replay format because there's less, yeah, I feel like there's just more, it's easier to follow along when I'm narrating a through line and all that. So at the end of the last video, I was talking about how I could see myself going down to one frog, but I just felt like having fun yesterday, so I just went the opposite direction. Three frogs main, and the fourth one is in the sideboard. Just messing around, having a good time with the new cards, and we'll see how that worked out. I say this pretty much at the beginning of every video in the deck tech, though. I'm not convinced it's a control card or really that great for Grixis control, but it's such a powerful card that does so many things. It could be many things in this slot, but Psychic Frog is the new one, and it's really fun. So yeah, we're gonna rock with it. No Jace, no 4-drop at all. We're really relying on Psychic Frog for our end game. That's kind of our 4-drop Planeswalker in a way. It's a Planeswalker in the way that Deathrite Shaman is. It just does so many things. But yeah. Anyways, cool. Let's jump into the matches. I think a few of them got pretty interesting. I'm already kind of spoiling the matchups here from my tweet. But yeah, weird stuff happens. Let's check it out. All right, so starting off in match number one, we won the die roll, which was really sweet. And we're looking at this hand, and I think it's an absolute banger. I mean, there are some decks in the format that will absolutely dumpster it. Like, I can't beat a turn one with this deck. But on the play, I feel like Tamiyo into Psychic Frog and clear their board with Bolt and the Shieldred's Edict and 3 lands. We can play on basics for the most part until we need that red mana. I just feel completely rolled up here. And opponent's taking a mulligan down to 5, though, so I'm like, oh, shoot. I think I chose poorly. If they're going to mull down to 4, I'm probably just going to get Necrodominanced, which is sad because this is such an awesome hand, and I really want to use it. But instead of bluffing, because I really don't know what they're on, they didn't reveal like Chancellor of the Annex or anything like that, so I'm just going to stick to the plan here and cast a Tamiyo and see what they're up to. They play a Polluted Delta, which doesn't not mean they're not a combo deck. But we're untapping. We're not dead, which gives me hope because the fact that we're not dead means I can attack with Tamiyo, crack a clue, I get a draw step. I find Thoughtseize, so I'm already like, okay, I don't think I'm going to lose right away. I think I can actually leverage this to a win because Thoughtseize and Force of Will would be the cards I'm looking for to stay alive. Yeah, I could have cast Psychic Frog here, but my read was combo with that mulligan to 4. But it turns out they're playing Blue-Black Scam, and they got 2 Psychic Frogs and a March of Wretched Sorrow, which is a pretty solid hand. Like, I'm pretty sure 2 Frogs can solo a lot of decks in this format right now if they don't have the capacity to deal with them. However, we might even be in a situation where a Lightning Bolt can deal with Psychic Frog. Or at least get them Hellbent. And then I can Shieldred's Edict after that. A little bit of a dirty trick. So their surveil is super interesting. They surveilled Soul Spike into their graveyards. This is not a normal blue-black scam deck. This deck is looking to leverage the insane card advantage from Psychic Frog and cast cards way above rate. They've got March of Wretched Sorrow, which you can pitch black cards to just deal crazy damage and gain life, and also Soul Spike, which if you've never seen it before, it's from Cold Snap. You can exile 2 black cards from your hand, and it deals 4 to any target, and you gain 4. Yeah, it's a drain 4. I think this was part of a combo deck with Chancellor of the Dross. I could be wrong about that. But yeah, free spells, pretty good it turns out. I think this is the same cycle that gave us Allosaurus Shepherd as well. If y'all remember Modern Neo brand, that was one of the fastest decks Modern has seen up to that point, I think. Okay. Or Allosaurus Rider, I'm sorry. Allosaurus Shepherd is very different. Okay, so I could deal with this frog, but I think it's more important to push the advantage. If they attack, like, we can block. We can block probably with Tameo as well, unless they want to, um, yeah, lose their entire hand. That being said, I'm not going to attack. I don't want to let them just eat my Tameo for free. That would not be good. I don't want to tempt them into that play because I don't want them to make it. Even though we'd probably come out ahead of Shieldred's Edict, I think there's a more tactful way to approach this game that does not involve us losing Tameo. They drew Dark Ritual, so I'm starting to think this is like a take on the Tesselic Mono Black Splashing Blue only for Psychic Frog. And Tesselic has been on a complete tear recently. It's just like destroying. I think they got like 5 trophies in 24 hours. It's pretty crazy. So with their Dark Ritual, they cast March of Wretched Sorrow for 3. I only need to discard 2 cards to beat this, and I'll happily do that. They have no cards in hand. And now their frog can't get through. And then they concede to that. Yeah, a bit of unfortunate mulligan to 4 for my opponent. So yeah, kind of continuing the theme from the last trophy where variance has been on my side recently. All right, for game 2, obviously we're on the draw, and we see a really great hand. It's a little soft to Wasteland, but opponent unfortunately has to take a mulligan again. So we're definitely getting a lot of free value here. They put a card on top of their library with their Surveil, though, so I have to be ready for that. We draw Cling to Dust, which is pretty good. I think most of these decks, if not all of them, have a Grief Reanimate package. And I decide to Thought Seize them. And I'm protecting my red source because Lightning Bolt could be pretty relevant. Yes, they do have Reanimate. They also have Troll, Barrowglyph, and Dark Ritual. Now that Barrowglyph is going to be a problem, but it's not like I can really just take it because then they reanimate it. At the same time, taking Troll seems kind of anemic, and Dark Ritual is kind of a card we want to capitalize on to pull ahead because it's a burst of mana at the cost of a card, which we hope to grind out. So I think the clear take is Reanimate. I go to 17. They play Polluted Delta, and I'm pretty sure they cast Barrowglyph here. They do. This card, if you have not seen it yet, is absolutely busted. It's very castable at 2 and a black, has Death Touch and Lifelink, so crazy stats, and it is Tarmogoyf in power and toughness. It's not Nethergoyf, which only looks at your graveyard. Barrowglyph, like Tarmogoyf, looks at all graveyards, so it gets big pretty quickly. And that's not all. When it deals combat damage to a player, you mill that many cards, and then if you do, you can put a creature card from among the milled cards into your hand. So it generates pretty crazy card advantage as well, especially if it's hitting for like, yeah, 3 or 4 in like a scam deck with a bunch of creatures. And you don't want to block it either because it has Death Touch. So yeah, there's a lot to like about that card. It's very powerful. So I'm met with a tough decision. It's already too big to Lightning Bolt. And depending on what I draw, I think I want to cast Baleful Strix here. Because I don't think I'll want to invest that heavily into Psychic Frog when they're a black deck with absolute removal. And yes, they can remove Baleful Strix, but that will cost them a card. It's possible Barrowglyph misses on the mill trigger if they do remove Baleful Strix and get a hit in. I think this is just the most profitable line here. And we know they have Troll and One Unknown. Now I'm pretty sure they Swamp Cycle at the end of turn for an Underground Sea. So they've got 2 unknowns over there. And what was it? They have Psychic Frog. So that's pretty good. Fortunately, they only have 1 card in hand, so Lightning Bolt will defeat it. And they can't attack. So we're in good shape here. We draw Shieldred's Edict. Now here, since they had only 1 card in hand, I think I chose to cast Psychic Frog instead of Shieldred's Edict. Yeah, I figure I can do that next turn, and just getting my endgame engine going here is very nice. They have another Psychic Frog, so that's a little worrying, but I know mine can mess with theirs, and also I'm still checking their creatures with Baleful Strix. It's really nice to see this card be relevant again. I think it never was irrelevant, but when Orcish Bowmasters was printed, prevailing wisdom was that Baleful Strix was unplayable and completely invalidated. But, I think it's like any card that draws cards, like Brainstorm. You gotta pick your spot for it, and there's really no card that does it better, except maybe Ice Fang Kutai, but, you know. I was thinking, like, I do wish Ice Fang was blue-black because this deck plays so many basics. However, then I wouldn't get to choose which basic art I got to use, which would be a complete nightmare. It'd be Arkham's Astrolabe all over again. Everyone would just be playing snow basics. That was a dark time. I'm not a fan of Arkham's Astrolabe, but I still played Grixis Control throughout that era. And I didn't go broke, so I must have at least strung together some 2-3s and 3-2s. I was also drinking a lot back then, though. I feel like it wasn't until I quit drinking that I actually started getting good results in Magic. Sorry if that was a little too personal, and pretty obviously after I ponder I see a red blast, so I can just blast the frog, edict away Barrowglyph. They have one card in hand, and it's really easy to just get in here and draw that Orcish Bowmasters on top of my deck. We're crushing. We're ahead on board. We have more lands than them. We have one more card in hand after their draw step. Cling to Dust. We're ready for grindiness. We can stop their card draw engines with Narset. I was expecting Grief. I think, medium excited to see Fel the Profane, because while it is like very expensive and random out of cards in hand, we also lost our Psychic Frog, which is kind of sad. However, we still continue to push damage, and like I was talking about before they cast that, we can grind super hard this way. And yeah, we just like... Sorry, that went really fast. Here, it's really nice to just cast Narset, establish that lock piece, activate her, get a Kolaghan's Command. Just, we're feeling really rolled up here. Next turn, it's a little silly and probably not patient enough, but I think I'm tempted to just like, yeah, K-Command back my Psychic Frog, make them discard. They drew a land. Bolt in Soporific Springs and cast Psychic Frog. And we also drew Tameo. This is just like an embarrassment of riches. We got their next frog rolled up with Pyroblast. We got Orcish Bowmasters, Narset. I can't really imagine a world in which I lose this game unless they cast like a Necrodominance right now and combo me out. They have Reanimate. That's fine. I think this even gives us lethal on board, which is like the crazy power of Psychic Frog. Because I think I drew Lightning Bolt. Yeah, so I just give this flying, discard 3 cards to it. That gives me 5 power in the air. I'm holding on to Red Blast. I don't know why. Probably should have held on to Bowmasters, but also nothing can go wrong from here. I have complete information. So hit for 5 in the air, and then Lightning Bolt. And yeah, that was the game. Psychic Frog, completely busted, except against removal. So I guess that's an appropriate power level for a threat in Legacy, because that pretty much sums it up. Being able to switch out of nowhere from having, if you need cards in hand, sorry, I'm not explaining this very well, but if you have cards in hand and you need to interact that way, sure, just keep them in your hand. But if you need to go tall on the board or end the game quickly, Psychic Frog also has that mode to step on the gas. So I think it's a really cool card and a lot of fun to play with. And yeah, that was the first match. I also want to point out, this is the first time in a long time my constructed rating has been over 1800. Modern Horizons 3 has been pretty good for me. Also kind of spooky, my combined rating is at a 666 right now. Or maybe that's cool. Yeah, I think it's cool. But yeah, constructed rating is often not very good because I do a lot of experimenting for the channel, and I play an underpowered deck. I'm not under any delusions that Grixis control is like the best thing to be doing in Legacy. All right, once again, we are crushing the variance game. Our opponent takes a mulligan. We get to keep 7. Typically, if an opponent mulligans, I'll keep a hand that is kind of boring like this with a Force of Will. They cast Once Upon a Time, so I'm like, oh, okay. Is this like Hogak, or is it the Eldrazi decks I've been running Once Upon a Time? But they reveal Endurance, so my first thought is Cradle Control. Basic Forest, Ignoble Hierarch. These are all cards in Hello Newton's Cradle Control deck. So I'm feeling pretty confident on my read there. I'm like, we should draw Bowmasters and deal with this thing. Or that would be a next turn thing, so I'm hoping to draw Lightning Bolt. Crazy, right? Just crushing the variance game. So I go ahead and get a Badlands. Some of these piles do have a Wasteland, but it's usually in low numbers as a tutor target for Elvish Reclaimer. And at this point, too, I really don't care if I trade a land. They mulliganed, and I have quite a few in hand. So trading cards like that is totally fine if they have Wasteland. But yeah, I'm going to Bolt Hierarch and just pass the turn. Try and prevent some of their more busted lines on turn 2. And they do have the Cradle, so we were able to stop Cradle from making mana, and they just don't have a play after that. So they have Endurance and 3 unknowns. Feeling good. Endurance will kind of screw over Snapcaster Mage's trigger, but if they have to pitch cast it, it's still a pretty good exchange for us. I'll never understand how these replays work. Like, what's happening every time I click? Okay, we draw Bowmasters. I still think, well, 1, we didn't know that was coming, and 2, I think it was too risky to let them untap with a Ignoble Hierarch, and also that would have given them Guy's Cradle mana, so I think I did the right thing. I'm going to cast Ponder, and I see some good stuff in there, so I keep. We were kind of hoping for a removal spell, but Snapcaster Mage alongside Force of Will with Strix to pitch to it if I have to beat that Endurance should come in handy. What else? They didn't do anything again, which tells me that they don't have any lands in hand, which is good for us because it's kind of a time walk. I think I just cast Cling to Dust at the end of turn here, and I choose to work on their lands because not only does Elvish Reclaimer benefit from lands being in the graveyard, but so does Knight of the Reliquary. Not that Knight of the Reliquary is in Cradle Control all that often. It's more of a Maverick card. It's also tempting to go after creatures because both Fiend Artisan and White of the Reliquary, they get their power and toughness from creatures in the graveyard. However, it's more important to just draw cards at this point. Gaining life. Casting Healing Salve is not really an acceptable line right now. I'm free to cast Baleful Strix here, which is really sweet, because this deck does have trouble attacking into Baleful Strix, and I also get to draw a card. It's kind of broken, like I said last round. Card is too good. Alright, they moved to untap. And now, can't remember what happened this turn, but I think something happened. Yeah, they found Ignoble Hierarch. Unfortunately for them, we have Orcish Bowmasters. And then they do this, which at first I thought was a complete spew. And there's White of the Reliquary like I was talking about. But then I realized, oh, okay, they're using it so they can get 2 mana off their Cradle. Got it. So yeah, that trigger goes off. And they cast Springheart Nantuko. So that card, if you haven't seen it yet, I don't know if I've featured it on the channel. Oh, I think it was in the modern video, actually, the modern Jeskai Energy video. So this card is really sweet. Every time you play a land as a landfall trigger, you get a 1/1 green insect. However, if it's enchanted to another creature, when that landfall trigger hits, you can pay 2 and make a copy of the creature that it is bestowed on, which is crazy. Because then, yeah, if you remove the creature, it just sticks around as the thing that makes 1/1 insects. It's a value machine and often seen alongside Nadu decks. But I guess it's just good enough to play in Cradle Control as well. I believe it. So there's Springheart and Tuco. Very scary. I'm going to Surveil. And I see Cling to Dust. I put it in the yard. Or I put it on top. Okay. Never mind. I'm not sure why I did that. Maybe to have a more efficient turn, like cast Bowmasters and then Cling to Dust. I don't know. Anyways, Springheart and Tuco has to go. Even though letting them have mana is pretty scary. We just can't let them get all those insects. I don't have a sweeper, so I can't let them get free cards from their cards. Okay, so now they are bestowing Springheart and Tuco. And I'm pretty sure this is all upside since, well, they didn't do it last time. But yeah, the way bestow works is if I remove Noble Hierarch, Springheart and Tuco will still stick around. And also, I think while bestowed, you don't have to pay the 2, and you'll just get a 1/1 anyways. So yeah, that card's busted. I force. They have 2 cards left in hand, so I'm just gonna press my advantage here and not let them have that card enter the battlefield. Okay, I think they drew Bojuka Bog for turn, and I'm feeling pretty smart for not surveilling Cling to Dust into the graveyard. Grinding, still online. I hit Once Upon a Time. And then I draw a Kolaghan's Command, which I'm always happy to see. So I can grind them to dust here. Just Shock and Raven's Crime. Get them top decking. I have Waterlogged Teachings. I had a Natural Order in hand, which is pretty scary because I just used my Force of Will on Springheart and Tuco. So that really could have messed things up. But I'm pretty sure they conceded after this draw step here. Oh no, they have Lair the Hydra. It's not over yet. Oh, that's right. Actually, things got pretty weird from this point. So yeah, Lair of the Hydra can easily block my creatures. I draw Force of Will, so I just feeling pretty good now. So I just attack for 3. Got a 4-turn clock, and send it back to them. Worth noting, guys, Cradle does not tap for mana right now either. But they hit a land drop. Oop, just hit my mic, sorry. They hit a land drop, so now they can block my 1/1s. I figure now is as good a time as any to Waterlogged Teachings for Sheoldred's Edict as a catch-all removal spell. Now, this gives them a weird choice of they can either get Dryad Arbor. Well, they don't actually even know what I'm going to fetch for yet. But yeah, they see me get Sheoldred's Edict, and they can respond in turn by getting a Dryad Arbor, which doesn't allow them to make this bigger than a 1/1. Or wait, does it? No, it does, because then Guy's Cradle turns on. So yeah, it's a wash. And I probably chose poorly by getting Sheoldred's Edict. I probably should have just gotten Lightning Bolt, honestly. But I was thinking about a large White of the Reliquary, which also doesn't really make sense the more I think about it, because then they can just animate Lair of the Hydra in response. But yeah, I don't force any action by doing that. And they chose not to get Dryad Arbor. They get Underground Mortuary instead. And they've been a Bayou. Yeah, they didn't want that. They draw another fetch land, so that must have been the one that got Dryad Arbor. And yeah, Lair of the Hydra. It's getting pretty big, but they can't really afford to attack, because I don't think they're winning the race. Yeah. We're barely winning the race here. We draw a land, which is kind of whatever. I think I continue to push damage, though. Yeah. It's getting out of control here. They fetch for Dryad Arbor. Make a 3/3. And then they almost blocked my army, but chose not to. So I lose Orcish Bowmasters. But I get them to 5, which is pretty sweet. They drew White of the Reliquary, so glad I have this Force of Will. Just get that out of there. And now I'm hoping to find like Lightning Bolt or something like that. They're all back in my deck thanks to Endurance. I got a land out. And I draw another Shielder's Edict, which is pretty funny. I can start with Cling to Dust though. See if I draw something more relevant. I don't. It's just a land. So now I think the plan is just like send with both. If they animate the lair, I'm just going to send 2 Edicts here and try and get the game over with. We're both hellbent. I'm ahead on board. I don't know why I fetched there. I think I just wanted every fetchable out of the deck, and I think they all are except for Basic Mountain. They drew Talon Gates of Madara. Not a great draw for them. We draw Narset, so I'm like, cool. Find me that Lightning Bolt. I miss. Alright. How about Ponder? Can I get a Lightning Bolt? No, I can't. I think I no, I didn't shuffle, did I? That would have been insane. Yeah, I did not shuffle that. Just hold up Force of Will. Put them to 1. I got Lethal in the air. Can't really see this going wrong. And yeah, we got there. Bit of a slog. And they were severely mana compromised early on. But, you know, I think this matchup should be pretty good across the board. We're a removal deck and they're a creature deck. Oh, whoops. Okay. Here we go for game number 2. Once again, obviously we're on the draw. And we see a pretty solid hand here. I really like Lightning Bolt, and the fact that a Psychic Frog can actually get bigger than some of their creatures now has really flipped the matchup on its head. It used to be really difficult to deal with their big creatures, but yeah, Psychic Frog has really changed things. Unfortunately, opponent again has to mulligan, so I will say we were running pretty hot today. Or rather, our opponents were running a little cold. So, like last game, they start with Once Upon a Time, reveal Noble Hierarch, and cast it. Pretty similar start. And like that game, I'm just going to bolt it on sight. Very easy play to make. And now they have Springheart and Hentuko, so I'm like, okay, shoot. I might have to just Edict that. Unless I draw Bowmasters. Like, do you think maybe I can draw Bowmasters? What do you think, folks? Any second now. Yeah. Sorry, that might have been kind of loud. So we draw Bowmasters. Insane. Insane. Better than dropping Psychic Frog in here because I don't want them to make a land drop and start generating 1/1s. It's just going to get out of control. Speaking of which, they do have another Springheart Nentuko, which is pretty busted. They play Dryad Arbor, and they get an insect token. So all of a sudden, their board is quite massive. And at this point, I draw another Bowmasters, which is pretty crazy. So at this point, I could either cast Psychic Frog and start my endgame threat, or I can seek to control the board a little more, take out that Springheart Nentuko, and I think that's what I chose to do. But I think I could Brainstorm first. Yeah, I Brainstorm first. I see Opposition Agent, which is very important for the matchup because they have cards that can just kind of beat you out of nowhere, like Natural Order. Green Sun Zenith for Grist is really difficult to deal with. Also makes insect tokens. I wonder if there's some synergy there. I think it'd have to be the new Grist, right? I can't remember. I've not seen the new Grist yet. I thought it was going to be all over Legacy, but yeah, I haven't seen it yet. But yeah, pretty easy line here. Just take out that Springheart Nentuko, and then I'm going to attack with both because I'm honestly fine trading either. I want to limit Cradle mana, and I also want to steer them away from Natural Order. They play Dryad Arbor and Endurance. It's going to be really hard to fight through that thing. Has massive stats at 3/4. So that limits our attacks. I'm pretty sure I just held up Opposition Agent this turn. Because like I said, it's important to not get defeated by those difficult cards. I drew Waterlogged Teachings. That's the awesome thing about this card. Like, it can just be your land drop too. This card is absolutely busted. Got my paper copy. Picked up a foil copy because it was like mega cheap. It was like under $1. I think maybe someday it might be more. This is not my play copy. I got a non-foil version to play with. But yeah, it's just a really cool looking card. I love the idea of a flooded library. I like Scholomance and stuff. Alright. Yeah, I think I just flashed an opposition agent here. Just get that blanket protection down. Or not. Okay, maybe I was just trying to get them a little more. I'm not sure if I agree with that line now. Because they have so few cards in hand. Alright, what did I do next? Oh, duh. I got distracted. That was the end of their turn. Okay, so they're tapping tons of mana. I'm like, oh goody, here comes Green Sun Zenith. I'm going to grab it with Opposition Agent. It's going to be wonderful. But I think they just animate Lair of the Hydra. Yeah, so here comes a 5/5. And Endurance. I choose to block the Lair. Because I don't want to take 5, but I'll take the rest. And then now I think I cast Opposition Agent. That's right. Okay, cool. Now, like I've said, I think every other game in this league, Baleful Strix is really good at challenging big creatures. And there's no way I'm blocking with Opposition Agent, so I get an attack in with them. And yeah, just throwing Baleful Strix, feeling set up. Might as well cast the Psychic Frog as well, because I can beat Endurance in combat. And I think I'm pretty free to just discard all 3 of these cards to Psychic Frog. Yeah, they realize that and they don't attack. I drop Brainstorm, so I can start there. It's Frog neutral. It's a cantrip. And I don't see anything too inspiring. So I give my Frog Flying, and I prepare myself to discard 3 cards to it. Defeating Endurance in combat. And making it so Lair of the Hydra also will have trouble getting through. But I'll probably be attacking with it for the rest of the game. And yeah, they take a draw step and they realize that they really can't beat this board. Opposition Agent is locking out their combo lines, and Psychic Frog is just going to continue to accrue value while getting bigger and bigger. And they're a green deck, so they want to have the biggest creature, and that's going to be really hard to do. So yeah, pretty solid run against Cradle Control there. It's a matchup that can often be difficult for all the reasons I outlined, but also, like I just mentioned, the matchup's getting kind of better with Psychic Frog around. Alright. Things got pretty crazy coming up, I think. But we're opening up to another incredible hand. And opponent finally keeps 7. I think this is the first time an opponent kept 7 against us. And they play a Polluted Delta. They crack it for a basic island. And they exile, or they pitch cast Grief. So I know at the very least that they can't reanimate it unless they have, like, you know, I try to think of these convoluted crazy lines all the time and be like Lotus Petal. Yeah, Lotus Petal and reanimate or something. But that would also put them down to like 2 cards, so I wouldn't mind it too much. Now I predict they take Thoughtseize here. Yeah, they just want to stay proactive. And they tap that blue, and I was like, whoa, hold on. Are they going to cast Stifle right now? That's one way to scam your Grief. Not a very good way, I don't think. But no, they just cast Brainstorm, which is a really interesting time to cast Brainstorm. Anyways, I think our first draw was a land. Yeah. So we'll conceal information and not play out Scalding Tarn. We'll play out Polluted Delta and then just pass it back to them. In their upkeep, they Swamp Cycle Troll of Khazad-dûm, so they don't have to redraw those cards that they saw off their Brainstorm. And then they cast a Ponder and choose not to shuffle, so I'm expecting something crazy to happen pretty soon. I see a Ponder on top of my deck, which I'm happy to keep, but instead I'm going to Brainstorm first and try and fix my hand up. And we just see like a bunch of lands, you know, nothing too crazy. But we also find Psychic Frog, so we're able to get a little proactive here. And I choose to retain 4 land drops and the rest to action. And I also choose to play around Daze. Don't cast Ponder. They have a Wasteland, which I guess I'm okay trading cards like that. They also have a Reanimate, so I'm like, oh, okay, well, I better try and fight this, and now I can play around Wasteland for the rest of the game too. I cast Cling to Dust, and of course they have Daze. They always have Daze. I can't pay. So Reanimate resolves. They take 6, go to 13. So at this point I'm like, shoot, I better try and race. So I cast Psychic Frog. I'm at 18. I do have Cling to Dust. I might be able to scrape up to 4 mana and gain 3 life and give myself an extra turn. But that's all pretty dicey. They have 3 cards in hand, which is kind of a lot. And they send, of course. I need them to not have so many things here. Yep, damage going through any second now. Okay, they don't appear to have another card, but they might have Orcish Bowmasters. We draw Orcish Bowmasters, which is pretty sweet. So yeah, let's fire in here and see what happens. Seems like nothing. So in order to win this race, I do have to invest in the Frog, which is really risky because at the bare minimum, they could have like Petty Theft, which resets my progress on a Frog. But I'm fine just losing these Ponders at least, and put them to 10. Oh, it turns out I'm fine doing a little more than that. I played this pretty risky, it turns out. But yeah, Strix is not going to do very much against Troll of Khazad-dûm. But yeah, they have no effects. 3 cards in hand, no effects. Could be counter magic. I get to draw a card, which is pretty sweet. And it's Cling to Dust. So I'm like, okay, maybe I don't need 4 mana to give myself an extra turn here. And I can also activate the Scalding Tarn. That doesn't change the clock. Working in multiples of 6 here. They've been Wasteland wisely. And they play a Swamp out. Now I'm pretty sure they still have an Underground Sea in hand that they cast Daze by returning it to their hand. So we only really have to worry about 2 cards right now. I cast Orcish Bowmasters to try and get ahead in this race. And they actually just scooped the Orcish Bowmasters, which surprised me. But yeah, let's see here. 7, 8, 9. Well, I mean, 7, no. Yeah, 7, 6, 5 from the attack. 4, 3, 2, 1. I guess, yeah, if I just invested even further into the Frog, which they could have got me, I could have had lethal next turn. So yeah, that was game 1. And we open up on game 2, and we see a hand that is pretty good. We didn't see Psychic Frog in game 1, but these decks are mostly on them right now. They take a mulligan, so I'm like, oh, all right, this is feeling pretty good. What could possibly go wrong? I even have Cling to Dust to stop their fast reanimate lines. But they put a card on top of their library, and I'm concerned about that. But it's pretty easy for me to just play a land and pass here. There's a lot of things that are available to me. I draw another land, which is like, not the best, but also it's not bad to have that many lands. We're not under any pressure, so it doesn't hurt that much. I'm going to Surveil. I see Lightning Bolt, and I unfortunately bin it, because I already have one, and I'm like, okay, I should be diversifying my answers or looking for something proactive to do, because Scam is really good at just winning if you're not doing anything. They don't do anything at that turn, though. So their first action is Swamp Cycling that Troll of Khazad-dûm, after their Surveil, of course. Played out an Underground Sea, and that's it. This makes me suspicious of them having Orcish Bowmasters. I just draw a land, which is not very exciting. Just going to be patient. I don't want to run Strix into Bowmasters. We'll just have to see what happens here. And yeah, they're being patient as well. So they tap 2 black and then activate Flooded Strand. And then they cast Stealthy Voidwalker, which is interesting. I got some fetching out of the way just so I don't have to put those lands in the void, relevant for Cling to Dust. And then I let that resolve. And then I cast a Lightning Bolt on it. It's important to not let that card stick around. We derive a lot of value from our graveyard. And it can also end up, they can end up with some pretty devastating things like Lorien Revealed if I'm not careful. I cast Strix. They don't have 2 black up, or black 1 up. And I draw another Red Blast, so I'm like, okay, where are those frogs? At this point, I'm like, I need to like just Red Blast cantrips now too. Like, I'm doing a really bad trading. They still have 5 cards in hand and they mulliganed. 3 mana is plenty for this deck to operate on. I think things got pretty bad this turn. They cast Orcish Bowmasters, and I'm like, oh shoot. Pretty interesting decision here. I could have cast Cling to Dust in response, get my cantrip out of the way. However, I think I did not do that because I wanted to hold up Cling to Dust for a reanimate or something like that, even though the creatures they have in their graveyard, it wouldn't be the end of the world if they got reanimated. Well, Troll of Khazad-dûm actually would be pretty bad and give me much less time. But yeah, definitely could have cast Cling to Dust in response and gotten an unpunished cantrip, which in turn would have drawn me Brainstorm. So obviously, like, clairvoyance is not really a skill you should try and develop to play Magic the Gathering, but had I known I was about to top deck a frickin' Brainstorm into this Bowmasters, if I'd gotten my Cling to Dust cantrip out of the way, I could have then cast Brainstorm and fixed my hand up, because right now, this is the kind of hand where you just lose to Bowmasters with 6 cards in hand. I've got 2 Red Blasts that don't do anything. I've got Lorien Revealed and Brainstorm that draw cards and hasten my demise. And then I have a land. So, yeah. Things are not good. Things are not good right now. And they wasteland me. That's fine. That I don't mind so much. The only good thing about this situation is that I'm at 17, which is kind of a lot of life, but it will go down pretty darn fast. And they have Psychic Frog. Finally, my Red Blaster showing up. And I hope they interact with this. They don't. Too bad. I get another basic out of the way. Just get my mana set up. I draw another Brainstorm. I was like, really? Come on. Why am I drawing these Brainstorms? It would have been interesting to cast Lorien Revealed there, which probably would have given me the cards I needed to win the game, but also would have given me way less time to win the game. I draw Ponder, and people have done this against me a lot, and I always feel really good when they do. So I did not feel good doing this, but I had to. I'm at 12, and I see a pretty bad spread. Tamiyo can block, but do I really want to draw those other 2 cards after that? I need a removal spell, so I'm pretty sure I shuffle that. Oh, never mind, I didn't. Huh. Maybe it's better than just a random draw because Tamiyo blocks so well. That must have been the reasoning there. They have a Dismember though, so it was literally all for naught. So next turn I suppose I just Ponder again. Take even more punishment, but hopefully find a way out of this. Down to 8. I take the opportunity to gain 3 life because, yeah, I'm going to have to take even more damage to find a way out of this. And there it is. I find my removal. I'll take Lightning Bolt at first. And then I was like, wait a minute. Do I need to bolt the army token? Because Kolaghan's Command is not going to deal with it. But then I remember, like, oh, I got Biffle's Strix. Like, should be fine. They cast Brazen Borrower. I'm just gonna Red Blast it. Or no, I'm gonna Bolt Bowmasters. Then I'm gonna Brainstorm. And yeah, I'm not sure if I agree with that line. Maybe I did that just so I could make sure and cast that Brainstorm while I'm not under any Bowmaster oppression, because it seems pretty likely that they would have another one. I take 6, which is way too much. I think I kind of screwed up, actually. Because then they cast Grief. Pretty easily take my Kolaghan's Command. Dash my hopes for balancing the board here. And they Brainstorm after that? Yeah. They've got 3/3 power creatures. It's not looking great for me. I know the top of my deck won't help, so let's Island Cycle. And I think I drew a Thoughtseize. Or wait, no. I drew an island, and I was like, I almost redrew using Cling to Dust, but then, yeah, basically my out was Bowmasters. I cast Bowmasters, shoot Brazen Barber, and I guess double block Grief and go to 1. Or I could chump the army token if I thought I was going to get blown out by removal. Either way, it's all bad, though, because, yeah, I think that's actually, the double block on Grief would theoretically be better, since the other one's just a chump anyways. Anyways, I choose to cantrip off Nile Spellbomb here. And yeah, there's the Thoughtseize I was thinking about. We lose. It's over. We're off to game 3. All right, now you look at this hand, and there's obviously a part of me that says that you should not keep this hand. You have 2 big blue spells and no blue mana, but I'm pretty sure I kept, just because mulliganing against Grief decks is just a good way to lose before you even start playing. And it's not like the hand is that terrible. We have 2 castable spells, potentially a third one that's really strong with any land drop, and also I chose to play around Wasteland by running out the mountain first. Even though holding up Cling to Dust would be cool, it's not something you really need to do on turn 1, because they'll usually pay 1 mana to put their creature in the graveyard, whether it's Swamp Cycling, Troll of Khazad-dûm, or casting Entomb, and then they'll have to pay additional mana to reanimate it. Okay, on their turn, they just crack Polluted Delta for an island, and that's it. Nothing else. We do draw a 3rd land, but it's our 2nd bad land, which is kind of funny. But yeah, that gives us Kolaghan's Command. Not bad. They Swamp Cycle Troll of Khazad-dûm and get a basic Swamp. So yeah, they're really playing around that Blood Moon. They're ready for that one. I don't do anything. It's not time to flash in Bowmasters all aggro-like. And we draw Waterlogged Teachings, again, coming in super clutch. And it's fine as a tapped land here. Obviously, an untapped blue source would have been a lot better, but that's the price you pay for modality in your cards, and I happily pay it. They Swamp Cycle again, so they got their land drops all right. They're ready to go. Then they played something that really surprised me, Unlicensed Hearse. It's not a card you see very often outside of Arcan decks. Arcan loves that card. I guess it was also a mainstay of Red Prison before Modern Horizons 3 dropped as well. Maybe it still is. Okay, so then they cast Reanimate on Troll of Khazad-dûm. I'm going to cast Cling to Dust on it. In response, they activate the Hearse, and I guess that makes sense. Like, this denies me 3 life in a deck that is really trying to scrape over the line by dealing damage, and also there's really nothing too much going on in my graveyard right now, so yeah, I think that line is totally fine. And they don't get Troll of Khazad-dûm, which is really nice. Now, depending on what I draw next turn, I'm pretty sure I cast Psychic Frog here. Okay, I drew Psychic Frog, and yeah, I just cast Psychic Frog. And hope they don't have removal, because this can totally run away with the game, if we're lucky. They have Psychic Frog too, and they also have more cards in hand. So we're in kind of a tough spot right now. After my draw step, we'll have an equal amount of cards in hand, but even then, like, our frogs are just bouncing off each other. So it doesn't make sense. I can't do anything right now. Unless they take one. If they take one from the frog, I might be able to do something. But instead, I chose to cast Narset and just kind of establish more board position. So even if they do connect with Psychic Frog, like maybe the attack trigger won't be worth that much. In response to my Narset on the stack, they chose to dismember Psychic Frog, and I don't have enough cards in hand to save it, unfortunately. So they do get my Psychic Frog. I have another one, but yeah, not in great shape. Also, their Unlicensed Hearse takes Psychic Frog, so I can't get it back with K Command, and more tragically, Cling to Dust. So grinding this out might be difficult. Alright, so I think it's absolutely worth it to get my card off Narset here, because it's pretty free for them to dump into Psychic Frog, attack Narset off the field, and then also draw a card by doing that. We get a lot of options here. I think I took Pyroblast. I definitely took Pyroblast. And I think the upside is so high if they don't have the days that I just fire in right now. And it worked. Thank goodness. I think I was betting on them not running days when I was on the play. I'd also been playing around it the entire match up to that point. However, they had another Psychic Frog in hand, and it's really easy to crew the Unlicensed Hearse when you can automatically make your creature 2 power. So they do that. They discard Engineered Explosives. Yeah, they probably won't need that one. And now Unlicensed Hearse is going to take Narset out, which is really too bad, because I was banking on getting an extra card off her and really grinding this out. This also means Unlicensed Hearse is tapped, so we might be able to do something here. I'm going to cast Brainstorm. Probably a good thing to do while I'm tapped out. I draw Brainstorm too, so I cast that, and we just see an embarrassment of riches here. Pretty clearly, I think I play Psychic Frog and then Red Blast theirs. And in a way, this Red Blast represents a 2-for-1, because they also invested Engineered Explosives into it. And did not get to draw a card off of it either. So yeah, feeling good now. Feeling very good. They have a Ponder. I chose not to cast Bowmasters because they also have Bowmasters, and you know my heuristics at this point. It's not worth it. They're at 15. They chose to shuffle, which I'm like, cool, great. But then they have a reanimate somehow, and I'm like, oh crap, not good. Psychic Frog is back, and they have 3 cards in hand. So yeah, not looking too great. However, I do have a Kolaghan's Command. And I think also a Sheoldred's Edict after that. Yeah, putting those cards back in the right order was difficult. That was a tough decision, but I think I was counting on them not having an additional Psychic Frog so soon, which I should always plan for. Anyways, I attack in here, and they're going Frog floating free too. However, I think they want to avoid incident, so they don't start the fight. So Frog has 1 damage marked on it. Now I can cast K Command, Shatter Unlicensed Hearse, and deal 2 to Frog, which will ask them to discard 2 cards from their hand. Now this is the part that's really crazy. They discarded Daze, and I'm like, wait, what? They must have just had to draw that after the whole Pyroblast Your Frog thing a couple turns ago? Bad luck. And then they discard a second Daze, so the only way that makes sense is if their 2 draws and their Ponder were like all Dazes, which is rough. Anyways, Frog survives, and now I'm going to get them Hellbent, but be ahead on board. Because at this point, there's no way they don't discard their last card either. And it was Orcish Bowmasters. So Bowmasters technically traded for Bowmasters. However, they have a huge threat. They can't really attack, though, because I swing back and I think get quite a bit of value in return. But this is definitely a scary spot. Like, all they really need to do is remove Psychic Frog and they win. or I need to top deck insanely well afterwards. At first, I didn't think they were going to give me the option to block, but yeah. So they bounce Bowmasters to my hand, so they're not punished for getting this draw. But that's kind of a funny thing, because Bowmaster's ETB just beats Brazen Barber, so I'm not too upset about that. And I know I'm getting that Edict. Just need to hold on a little longer here. Yep. There's the Edict. Goes off without a hitch. Now I can draw a card. Now I'm feeling pretty much in control of this game. I draw Sink into Stupor. It's like, cool. Even more good stuff. Don't have to worry about like Troll of Khazad-dûm or anything like that. I'm feeling pretty rolled up. And I think from here, we just kind of did our thing. Thoughtseize, that's a good thing to discard a Psychic Frog. Surely at this point, anything relevant in their hand would be cast, except maybe Force of Will, but they don't have the mana to hard cast it, and a 2-for-1 would be pretty good for me. And yeah, they flashed in Brazen Barber during combat, but since this can only block things with flying, I just didn't give my frog flying. That would have been a crazy mind game, though, if I gave it flying. Well, then it would have invited them to block, and then I could have discarded cards to beat it. But yeah, feeling pretty rolled up here. They have a Brainstorm. Looking for anything to get out of this. Giving me Bowmaster triggers. They don't find it, and they scoop it up. So yeah, another win against a blue-black tempo deck, and that put us at 3-0, so I'm feeling pretty good at this point.
All right, here we go. Replaying match 4. This is where things get a little interesting. I just took a break in recording, rest my voice a little bit. I've been talking and singing a lot lately. Okay. So, we're up against a 61 card deck, which already seems kind of strange and makes me feel like I'm either up against Oops All Spells or Elves is another deck historically famous for running 61 cards. And on the other hand, I don't really want to mulligan a functional hand on the play with my Ragavan, Tamiyo. So I'm just going to give it a shot. They're keeping 7 as well. Like, it might not be Oops All Spells. And also, what am I going to do? Like, mulligan for Force of Will or Thoughtseize? Actually, not that far-fetched in this deck with 2 Thoughtseize. But at the same time, like, Oops can beat those hands as well. So, let's just play Ragavan and see what is going on. Now my opponent, their first play, or special action, more accurately, is to play a Caracas. So that's not great for Tamiyo. I'm instantly feeling pretty dumb. And then I draw another land, which isn't too incredible, but I play it out. I get to combat, and I'm like, okay, they haven't bounced her yet. How far can I take this? Not very far. I don't get my trigger. So I'm just going to go to second main. Now, I could have played Tamiyo again, but I didn't really know what I was up against. My best guess at this point was like 4 or 5 color control. Those are the decks most commonly running Caracas, or it could have been Death and Taxes because those decks also run Caracas, but no Yorion is very suspicious. So instead of just running that out again and tying up their mana, I was going to try and get a little more information here. It turned out that playing Tamiyo again would have been the perfect thing to do because they play Yoshimaru, Ever Faithful, and it turns out they're an aggro deck. Legends matter aggro. So I really should have just played out Tamiyo again and tied up their mana because aggro decks need a lot of mana to be competitive in Legacy. This card's pretty cool though if you haven't seen it before. Whenever another legendary permanent enters the battlefield under your control, you put a +1/+1 counter on it, and that includes cards like Caracas. It's a legendary permanent. So it's pretty busted to be able to get a +1/+1 counter trigger not using the stack. I'm just going to surveil here. These decks, aggro decks are usually wasteland decks in Legacy, but I'm just trying to trade any way I can. Try and get them down from 6 cards. I see Polluted Delta. I'm just going to bin that. Alright. I draw Orcish Bowmasters, which is pretty busted, and Hair Trigger might want to just send it right now, but they can return Yoshimaru to their hand using Caracas. So I try to bait out certain lions here, and I played Tamiyo again because if they use Caracas on Tamiyo, then Bowmasters can slide in there and defeat Yoshimaru, but they don't budge. Now they do budge, so this is my chance. Oh, actually, I wanted them to spend their mana a little bit more first. So they cast Isamaru. I think they might be related. The 1 mana 2/2, better than Savannah Lions. This will trigger Yoshimaru. And they're also tapped out, so I don't have to worry about something like Ephemerate. I don't know. Just thinking about anything a white deck can do. It's a good point for Bowmasters to come in and take out Yoshimaru. Not the most pushed card when you think about it. I mean, it scales super well, but a 1/1... I thought those were a thing of the past. Okay, we draw Force of Will, which, like, is pretty nice, but we're trying to, like, pull ahead in cards, and because I do Force of Will, it makes me want to play Tamiyo and try and pull ahead here. Pretty clearly supposed to take Lightning Bolt here, keep the board clear. Don't let them untap with Caracas. That can help blank my removal spells, because they're clearly running some kind of Legendaries Matters thing here. So yeah, I'm just going to keep the board clear, push some damage. Ideally, I can get another card off Narset next turn. They play Ajani, and Ajani being an inherent 2-for-1 made me want to cast Force of Will on it. And I don't think Tamiyo is going to do too much in this matchup. At least I'd rather have Brazen Borrower and push damage. So I think, yeah, I think it just made sense. Since Ajani comes in and creates a trigger that gives them a 2/1 Cat Warrior, it just made sense to force it on the stack and not have to worry about it. All right, so I go to my draw step. It's another Force of Will. I'm like, okay, well, I kind of want to hard cast those. Narset turns up another Force of Will, so at least I have an easy pitch to force now. And then I go to combat and send for 2. Holding up Lightning Bolt feels pretty good. And in the absence of anything else, I think I can just, like, cast Brazen Borrower. See what happens here. Okay. They play a land. And then they play Flowering of the White Tree, another card that cares about legendaries. This one got a little bit of buzz when it was spoiled. It's so freaking hot in Seattle right now. I'm just doxing myself too. So it's a legendary enchantment for white, and legendary creatures you control get +2/+1 and have ward 1, and non-legendary creatures you control just get 1/1. So they're going to have pretty big creatures. The creatures are going to have ward. It's kind of a mess. But I don't force it because it's not a clock. But there's Thalia, and I considered forcing that too, but I was like, well, I could just bolt it. It'd cost me 3 mana, but yeah, I think I'll just bolt that. But I'll do that on my turn. I want to start dealing damage, so I cast Brazen Barber. Then I draw Psychic Frog, and you see, I don't know if you caught that, but I almost cast Bolt, and then I was like, well, hold on. I'm just going to cast Psychic Frog and try and, like, win, because that's quite a lot of damage in the air. I can still cast Force of Will, even if they wasteland me. And then they swords my frog, so I should have expected that. I cast Force, try and keep that thing around. And then they cast Senu, Keen-Eyed Protector. So this is a new card from Assassin's Creed, and may not do much on its own, but with the right synergy, it seems like it could be pretty powerful. It has Flying and Vigilance. The Flowering of the White Tree is granting it +2/+1 and also ward 1. And you can tap Senu and gain 2 life and scry 2. So not truly card advantage, but card selection certainly. Scry 2 is strong. And then this other text, when a legendary creature you control attacks and isn't blocked, if Senu is exiled, put it onto the battlefield attacking. So that's pretty strong. Might have some synergy with another card coming up. And also, I'm not really in the mood to block Thalia since she has first strike. So yeah, seems like a pretty cool card. The 1 toughness is of course limiting, but not applicable under Flowering of the White Tree. I'm just going to cast another... Oh, no, that's right. I cast Bolt on... I bolt the bird. I play the ward. I don't want it in the way of this Psychic Frog, because 4 power is too much for the cards in my hand. And also I want to push with Brazen Borrower as well. So I continue to ignore Thalia here. Draw a card, it's a Ponder, can't cast it. Send it on back. And they swords my frog. They had another swords. That's pretty rough, but I think I can live with it. But then they cast Inti, and I'm like, shoot, that trample might be a problem. As long as they can't get lifelink, I think I'll be okay. But there's no question that this is one hell of an attack right here. Inti also kind of gets around Narset's passive because it is an impulse draw, meaning they exile the top card of their library and can cast it till their end step. They're not drawing card. Oop, I hit my mic again. Also, the 1/1 counter is nasty. So they have a 5/3. I'm just going to... Oh, I almost chumped, and I was like, oh, whoop, trample. Nope, that's not worth it. So that sticks around. And then I get to untap and hopefully get a good draw step here. It's Waterlogged Teachings. A little expensive in the current state, so I'm just going to cast Psychic Frog, hit for 3, and hopefully have lethal next turn. I'll just discard 3 cards to Psychic Frog and then give it flying and hopefully send. What did they top deck? Another Assassin's Creed card. So, huge props to Ricky Maru6 for trying out these new cards. Assassin's Creed didn't get a lot of buzz when it was released, or even spoiled or previewed, but I mean, if it's legacy legal, it's certainly worth testing. And I think this card is actually pretty strong. It has a pseudo Stoneforge effect. In some ways, it's more powerful than Stoneforge because you search your library for an equipment, in this case, Spear of Leonidas, and then it goes right onto the battlefield. You don't need to untap with Stoneforge and like tap and put it in. It just comes right in. And on its face, like 3 mana 2/2 haste, those stats aren't really that bad, really. And the fact that it generates card advantage as soon as it hits the battlefield, I think this card is actually pretty good. And I'm sure like someone like XJ Cloud has been talking about this card. Like I don't think anything really escapes them. So I apologize for my ignorance in that regard, but at least in my corner of the internet, people weren't really talking about Assassin's Creed. And here we see 2 cards that are actually pretty strong for the legacy format. Anyways, Cassandra has even more text. Whenever a creature you control with a legendary equipment attached to it deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Does not have to be Cassandra, but this is like one hell of a top deck in the late game. Like you cast it, you get your spear, that's 2 cards already, throw it on Cassandra. Cassandra has haste, deals combat damage, then you draw a card. Like the only thing that would have made this more pushed if it was player or planeswalker. So ETB goes off. There's the spear. It only costs 2 to equip. Fortunately, they can't do that. We're really lucky. We really dodged here because this equipment is also really not that bad. It's very modal, which, you know, I love talking about modality and Grixis control and why it's my favorite deck. I need my cards to do a lot of things. This one does a lot of things. It can give its equipped creature double strike, which is a completely busted ability, especially with trample. It can create Phobos, which is a 3/2. A little bit of power limiting here. It is a legendary token, so you can't get a bunch of Phoboses, but still, like 3/2, pretty decent stats. And then it also can give you some card selection. Look like there's a reverse Faithless Looting here. Rummage 2, discard 2, and draw 2. So yeah, if you have a bunch of dead cards in hand, you can just get rid of them and draw 2 new ones. Yeah, so this is pretty busted. I think that card is good. I don't think it is a bad card. So they full swing. Kind of seals their fate. Yeah, all that to say, like, we did come out on top here. I just need to block the one without trample. Oh, actually, they can't even do that because they did not have a card to discard to Inti. So yeah, I just line up my blocks. I would take 4, go to 7, and strike back for lethal. All right, so for game 2, my opponent is keeping 7. They also boarded up to 62 cards. Very interesting. I look at this hand, and I think in the past I have, especially on the channel for the videos, like I'll usually keep any functional hand just for educational purposes and just see how many possible different hands can play out. But I was not recording a video at the time. I was spiking hard, just trying to do my thing off camera. So yeah, easy ship. This hand is a lot better. So we got Psychic Frog, Orcish Bowmasters. I think the send was likely... Yeah, I think it was Cling to Dust, but it might have been Opposition Agent being the most expensive card. Yeah, Opposition Agent for sure. All right. They have a turn 1 play. It's Isamaru. So 1 mana 2/2, already starting the clock pretty hard. We're not trying to take any damage here, so I'm pretty sure I just hit that with a bolt. We draw a Ponder. So if we don't draw a land next turn, we'll definitely be wanting to do that. Now here's another interesting card, Plaza of Heroes. It is a rainbow land for... Oh no, sorry, it's only a rainbow land for colors of legendary permanents you control. So right now it would make white. Oh wait, no, it is a rainbow land for legendaries. Yeah, you can use it to cast a spell. Yeah, and mana of any color for legendary spells. Yeah, this card is busted. And you can also pay 3, tap, and exile it, and give a legendary creature hexproof and indestructible. It's like a heroic intervention in a can. So yeah, that card is busted. A lot of support for legendary aggro these days. But unless they have 2 spirit guides, this play should work, and I would take that trade anyways. Stone Rain and him to Turok for Lightning Bolt. Alright. Do we hit the land? No, we do not. We draw another Cling to Dust. So I'm going to Ponder. And I see a land, and I'm like, okay, well, I didn't see a Wasteland all of game 1. Doesn't mean they don't have it, but it's better than shuffling and hoping to hit a land. I'll likely Cling to Dust that Arid Mesa at the end of turn. Now we see the 3rd dog on display here, Ophelia, Exuberant Shepherd. This card has been showing up in Death and Taxes lists. It's a legendary. It blinks things, which is really good in a deck full of creatures that have powerful ETB triggers. And also, if you blink your own creature, once it comes back on your end step, Ophelia gets a 1/1 counter. And also, this ability can be turned hostile, as you will see a little bit later in this match. So there's Sinu. Now, this interaction is really cool. Check this out. Okay, so Ophelia attacks and targets Sinu. Sinu's in exile. Ophelia is not blocked, though, so that ability I read out in game 1, Sinu's back. Sinu's back, baby, and attacking. So I get hit for 4, way more than I was expecting. I'm like, oh no. The one consolation here is that Ophelia will not get a 1/1 counter because the Sinu that was exiled by Ophelia was prematurely returned by its own ability. So all I can really do here is sheepishly... oh, Surveil, not even Cling to Dust. What is wrong with me? Oh, I guess I really needed another land, huh? And I find one, so that's good. Keep that on top. Okay, so I think the move here is clearly Bowmaster Sinu. Hold up Brainstorm in case of emergency, because I think my forces are in. Yes, my forces are in. Oh yeah, sideboard. I haven't been talking about sideboarding. I mean, these are all matchups I think we've seen before. Well, not this one, but the prior ones were like Scam and Cradle Control. Okay, so my sideboarding was pretty limited. Thoughtseize out. I don't really like Thoughtseize against aggressive decks, and also I want them to spend their mana because their cards are things I can answer. I don't need to like proactively take them out before they hit the field. Oh, Hydroblast is in. Yeah, we got Hydroblast. That's a good one. And Opposition Agent. We saw that in our opening hand. So, yeah, Tameo sided out, and then Thoughtseize sided out. What's the other card here? I'm forgetting one. Shoot. Hydroblast. I mean, y'all know what it is. Oh, Psychic Frog number 4. That's right. Okay. Anyways, moving on. So, end of turn. Let's get Bowmasters in here. Take out Sinu. And now they untap. So the sequencing here was a little whack, I think, because now Ophelia can turn that trigger hostile. Maybe I should have waited for this trigger to go on the stack targeting Sinu. Then I could have Bowmastered in response. However, that also would have played into Plaza of Heroes a little bit because they had Mox Amber. So, yeah, who really knows what's best, but the cool thing about Ophelia is that she can just obliterate creature tokens from Merit Lage to Orc armies. That's gone. I don't feel the need to block just yet, but I do take 2. I'm already down to 12. Pretty precarious. And no 1/1 counter for Ophelia. I will Brainstorm at the end of turn, even though it's not a line I enjoy making very much. Alright, so Kolaghan's command is pretty cool. If they really want to throw away their Plaza of Heroes, that might be worth it, but I also might get them to tap out. I want to cast this Psychic Frog really badly, so I'm not going to rely on Force of Will, so that's going to get shuffled away. I'll redraw Cling to Dust number 2. And as much as I want to push damage, it's not worth it. It's just not worth it. I might need to block, who knows. Also, apparently I didn't cast Psychic Frog. Okay, I don't exactly remember how I was playing this. It was getting pretty late at this point. Okay, Ophelia comes in. Targets Mox Amber, which I found really interesting. I chump block, so I can raise dead with Kolaghan's command. This comes back in before it does, so they can't Plaza of Heroes. I'm going to shock Ophelia and raise dead Bowmasters. They cast Disruptor Flute in response, so I think I activated Scalding Tarn in response. I wanted to shuffle anyways, and I don't want them to turn off my Scalding Tarn. So that comes in, and they name Orcish Bowmasters. Smart. So now Orcish Bowmasters cost 5 mana, which is a lot. Ophelia, the second half of that trigger fizzles, and then I cast Cling to Dust on Arid Mesa and draw Waterlogged Teachings, which is mana number 5 for Orcish Bowmasters if I want to go there. I draw Lightning Bolt, which is pretty sweet. Just going to bolt Isamaru, and then cast Psychic Frog, and see if I can start pulling ahead. Nope, they got Swords of Plowshares, but they're also down to 1 card over there, so that's pretty cool. Now, I'm pretty sure they just passed the turn here, right? Oh no, they had an Ajani. That's pretty bad for me. So Ajani, in case you haven't seen this card yet, although I featured it on the channel not long ago, when it enters, you get a 2/1. Pretty busted. And also, whenever one or more other cats die, Ajani becomes this crazy planeswalker where it comes down to 3 loyalty and can +2 to put a 1/1 on each cat you control. So already that's becoming like a 3/2. You can 0 to make a 2/1. And if you control a red permanent, which they don't currently, you deal damage to any target equal to the number of creatures you control, which is pretty crazy. And then it has like a light cataclysm effect as a -4. All the normals except land has been exchanged for a planeswalker. A bit of an update there. Because Cataclysm is a busted card. It used to be in Death and Taxes lists all the time. Yeah, so I think here all I could really do was use this Polluted Delta, because yeah, I cast Cling to Dust at end of turn. I drew Polluted Delta, that's land number 5, and I'm thinking it would be at the expense of 2 more life, but they're down to 1 card in hand. I think this is the safest window to take out Ajani before they untap with Plaza of Heroes, so I'm pretty sure I just used Waterlogged Teachings for a Lightning Bolt here and bolted Ajani. A bit of a roundabout method here, but if you think about it, like 5 mana, destroy your creature, it's not that bad. And my formatting was actually pretty bad. If you noticed, I cast Waterlogged Teachings, then I cracked my fetch land, and then I cast Lightning Bolt. What I should have done was activate my Polluted Delta first, and then Waterlogged Teachings for Lightning Bolt, because the way I did it, Waterlogged Teachings does reveal. There it is. So they could have cast another Disruptor Flute in response and locked out my Bolt in response to my Delta being activated. So yeah, a little loose for me, but that's why we do these replays. Alright, so here comes the Cat Warrior. Down to 9, not great, but my hand is good. And here it's definitely worth to spend 5 mana. I think I just skipped through this turn here. Yeah, here comes Bowmasters. Take that thing out. Now I'm ahead on board. They're all the way up at a whopping 19 life, though, so got a ways to go here. Can't remember what happened next exactly. I think they just Disruptor fluted my Cling to Dusts at some point. Or not yet. Hydroblast is a good draw. Since Cassandra has a cast trigger, that's something we really want to answer on the stack. Or not a cast trigger, an ETB trigger. Yeah, so there's the Disruptor Flute. They named Cling to Dust. Now Cling to Dust costs 7 to escape. So it's going to be pretty hard to leverage that grinding power. Need to make 2 more land drops for that to happen. But it also makes me feel like I don't have any bad draws. So, you know, this Disruptor Flute's not killing me, essentially. And since we're in a bit of a stall, I'm just like, okay, I'm going to cast Nimble Obstructionist and really start sending damage here. I draw Snapcaster Mage, which is awesome. And send for 5. Seems pretty good. They have a Source Plowshares, okay. And not a great trade since Nimble doesn't have an ETB. And we did not use the 2-for-1 mode on it. So, yeah. It's okay. We still sent for 2 damage. Just gotta be patient. They only have 2 cards in hand. But yeah, the game gets a little murky at this point. I can't remember exactly what happened. They drew a land. Probably not what they wanted to see. So we get to just also draw a land. We're 1 land away from being able to escape Cling to Dust, which will really crack this game open. Start grinding them out pretty hard. Yeah, they're thinning their deck, it seems. That's the problem with aggro decks in Legacy, is that they often have a hard time with card selection. Although Surveil lands should help that. I'm not sure if they're running any, though. Yeah, that would have been an elegant parlor. We draw Ponder, which is pretty sweet. Happy to cast that. The stack, for some reason, keeps covering up, you know, the library or whatever. I'm not sure why that keeps happening. We see a pretty fire Ponder. Even though Bowmasters costs 5, we've got mana to spare. And then I get to cast Baleful Strix, which is like an aggro deck's worst nightmare. Picking up Bowmasters, another huge headache for aggro decks, and also should give me the damage I need to close this game out before it gets too out of hand. There's Sinu. I'm very happy to hit that with a Bowmasters, especially since they tapped Plaza of Heroes to do it. Oh, and that makes perfect sense. They had another Plaza of Heroes. So, yeah. I'll draw the 3rd card off that Ponder, which was Brainstorm. And I'll see if they want to trade Sinu for either Orcish Bowmasters or the Army token. They do not. And then they kind of surprised me here. And on their upkeep, just went and exiled Sinu to gain 2 life and scry 2. That's a tap ability, by the way. I could have prevented that by tapping out on my end step, but I didn't want to do that. And they scry 2. 1 top, 1 bottom. So they're drawing something they want here. Whatever it is, they're not willing to send it yet. I'm going to cast Bowmasters here. I don't think we'll be seeing Sinu again. I have a lot of good board control in my hand. Via stack control, that is. They don't have Caverns of Souls or anything like that. Okay. So yeah, we're sending quite a bit of damage here. Feeling good. And I'm starting to think they like maybe topped Swords to Plowshares. So that's pretty good for them. It takes them from a 2-turn clock to a 3-turn clock. Or so they think. They don't know about my snap lightning bolt situation here. And then they cast Cassandra, which ordinarily would be like pretty freaking strong. Like it would come in, they get the spear, they equip the spear, they send with the spear, probably make Fubos, and then, or if they really hate their card, they could discard it. I wonder, I don't think it's a Fable of the Mirror situation, so I think you could, if you're Hellbent, you just draw 2 cards, right? Anyways, it doesn't really matter because we have Hydroblast and can take it out on the stack. Now all we have to do is snap Bolt and get over the line. And we can back it up with a Pitchcast Force, but they don't need to see it. Brainstorm is all they need to see to know that I have what it needs to, I have what it takes to finish this game out.
So I was like, cool. 4th of July, I'm up for a trophy. Let's see what I can accomplish. All right, a little background. Going into this match, it was like 3 a.m. and just after July 4th. And for some reason, at like around like 2, I was trying to fall asleep because it was late. And I was like, I should probably try and get some rest. But I couldn't. I was just, something was telling me to go and like play, get a trophy. And so I got up in the middle of the night and queued into this game. And I encountered something pretty interesting. So this was our first hand. This is a keepable hand against quite a few decks in the format. I think recently I posted a match against Oops All Spells where I won with a no land hand. But I don't know what I'm up against. They're keeping 7, so I'm like, well, probably not Oops All Spells, send it back. And it would be insane to keep a no land hand specking on Oops All Spells. This hand is not exciting either, but I'm not going to go to 5 in the blind. Send a Brainstorm. They start with Misty Rainforest and cast Tameo. And I'm like, shoot, if I don't draw a bolt right now, and they, and additionally, they have no way to protect her. If those two things don't happen exactly, Tameo's going to run away with the game. But then I draw my own Tameo, which is pretty funny. So I'm like, okay, sure. Let's do it. Now, they Force of Will, pitching Lorien Revealed. So at this point, I was like, okay, this is probably like, it's either like a mirror, but it couldn't be because I don't run Misty Rainforest, but all the other cards are in my deck. Or it could be like a take on maybe a me style deck, or it could be, I don't really know what this is. It's like probably a blue control deck. I don't think it's very tempo-y, but I mean it could be. But Basic Island Lorien Revealed doesn't feel very tempo-y. But Tameo has been showing up in some tempo shells, even though the card doesn't deal any damage, so it's a little questionable. All right, so they get their attack trigger. It's a bummer. I'm feeling way behind after having mulliganed, but I'm feeling a little bit cool because they also had to force. So they 2-for-1 themselves for keeping my Tameo off the field, which also kind of tells me they don't have removal. So I'm like, okay, cool. Let's cast Psychic Frog and really start to take over this game. They crack a clue in response, and I'm like, sure, now what? They get to their turn. They attack. I don't start this fight. Oh, yeah, because, yeah, I think it would be pretty foolish against a Tundra to dump into Psychic Frog, give it flying and all that. Because, yeah, they've looked at 2 cards since tapping out. Yeah, they cracked a clue, and they also had a draw step, so not crazy for them to have Swords of Plowshares here. And now they're pondering, so I'm like, shoot. Might be hard for me to get this trigger. But I'm untapping, so that makes me feel pretty cool. Play the island, go to combat. Do I get to do it? In blocks, they're going to brainstorm. That flips Tameo, and it also draws them a Terminus. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm going to brainstorm, because keeping this frog is like a pretty easy way to win. And I hit force, so I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'll force. That works. And also, before Tameo flips, I do that. So now I'm feeling like, okay, this is over, baby. I'm chilling. I got a card off my frog, and then they just like swords right away. And I'm like, okay, well, might not be such a done deal as I thought. And they still have a darn clue token too, so yeah, they're actually like banking quite a bit of card advantage there. So what I did was made them discard and pick up my own Tameo. And their last 2 cards were Force Blue card. Curiously, they didn't want to brainstorm first. I guess they didn't have a lot of faith in hitting another blue card, but yeah, now they don't flip their Tameo. But as we'll see, maybe that was their plan all along. Maybe they don't want to flip Tamio. So yeah, we're in a tough spot. Maybe I should have thought seized first, but I just felt like the game slipping out of my hands when with this Tamio running rampant. And if I didn't establish my own engine, I felt like I was just gonna slide away. And then I draw lowering revealed. I look at their hand and it's like brain surge, deduce. I'm like, wow, all this deck does is really draw cards. It's a little unfortunate I haven't seen Bowmasters and to a lesser extent my one of Narset, because those cards I feel like would just dumpster this deck. And I feel like a way I can actually catch up to this insane draw machine is if I just top deck a land and cast lowering revealed. So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna see what I can do here. Now the game gets a little slow from this point. I'm like, wait a minute. What's the win con? I'm starting to think like, is it like Laboratory Maniac and or like Thassa's Oracle or something like that? Because we've seen like a third of their deck and like nothing that even deals damage. But fortunately we top deck Brainstorm, and even though we miss on land, which is awful, we see a couple really good cards. We see 3 really good cards: Snapcaster Mage, Orcish Bowmasters, and Narset Parter of Veils. So I can't cast Narset this turn, which is unfortunate, because it'd probably be nice to do that when they aren't, yeah, just looking at a bunch of new cards. I don't have the blue mana for it, so instead I'm just going to sit with Bowmasters and hope they try to flip Tamio. Or they probably wouldn't try to after the second trigger. They just like wouldn't draw another card, because that would be the 3rd damage on Tamio. Y'all can see it, I'm sure. But yeah, I guess I also didn't feel like firing Bowmasters in was a good idea. So instead I'm going to cast Narset. They can't pressure Narset, so I'm just going to chill. However, they have a lot of tricks when it comes to not letting anything resolve. They have Mystic Sanctuary. They're going to put Force of Will on top of their deck, crack a Clue token, and then pitch cast Force. So I'm like weirdly keeping up with this card advantage, but like not even really, because the Clue tokens are so busted. Turns out Uncontested Tamio, super powerful. Who would have guessed? Yep. And again, they're just like not flipping that Tamio, which I guess is a solid choice because it's getting them a lot of card advantage. Like I feel entirely ground out at this point, but I'm not feeling out for the count just yet, because like they don't really seem to like have pressure, you know? They have Deduce, which is pretty close to a 2 mana draw 2. Well, not even really. I guess it's like a 4 mana draw 2. I don't know. Interesting card. So they just, yeah, do the same thing. Make a Clue token. And just sit behind Tamio. Doing the thing. We knew that was there from the Brainstorm. We're drawing a new card next turn. Maybe it will be a land. I'm having doubts about anything resolving ever again, though. It seems like they have, like, a pretty good web setup. But, like I also said, they're not dealing damage. So, yeah, I guess we just gotta be patient. They activate Clue token. They play Deduce. They get another Clue token. Feeling super ground out. They have 6 cards in hand to my 3 now. I'm like, where did it all go wrong? 2 Clue tokens. Like, what do I even do? I guess I need to start pushing damage. Then they cast Counterbalance, my worst enemy, and I'm like, after Endurance. Endurance and Counterbalance are my worst enemies. So I cast Bowmasters in response, because I don't want that to get counterbalanced, and then they cast Thwart. So I'm like, oh, okay. This is the kind of deck we're dealing with, huh? This kind of deck. They returned 3 islands to their hand and countered my Orcish Bowmasters. Yeah, just a deck of insane card advantage that will counter your spells no matter what you try to do. So I'm feeling desperate at this point. Completely ground out on cards. My only hope, I feel like, is to just like get them dead from 13. So I flash in Snapcaster Mage. They went way down on mana to make this play, so maybe I can get them like this. They crack a Clue, sure. Lightning Bolt. Kind of sketchy against a counterbalance, and also like, do I have to use Lightning Bolt to go face and try and end the game? I don't know. It's all insane.
And they just keep attacking with Tameo. They're like, I don't need to block. I got this wrapped. Even though they're not dealing any damage. But I'm fairly certain I'm not going to resolve another spell for the rest of the game. And yeah, they also have a swords. Between Counterbalance, Brain Surge being in their deck, Brainstorm being in their deck, it's just all bad. But they missed their Counterbalance flip, and I'm able to bolt Tameo. So that's, what? Tameo number 2? Great. 7 cards in hand, only 7. They play Mystic Sanctuary and are getting Brain Surge back. Then they just pass. I'm like, what is going on with this deck? I'm grateful to not be under any pressure, but I'm also like, yeah, I'm thinking about what win cons they could possibly have. They're halfway through their deck, and they haven't played a single card that deals damage, so I'm like, it's probably like Thassa's Oracle or Laboratory Maniac or something insane like that, right? They're playing Thwart, they're playing Force of Will, maybe even like Commandeer, who knows. I cast Ponder. They show me another Counterbalance on top, so miraculously I get to resolve a Ponder. And I shuffle because the cards were bad and sad. Flooded Strand. Okay, Tameo number 3, and I'm like, okay. This is clearly the creature they want to play. And then I'm like, oh, wait. Maybe they have that card that Boschenroll showed off recently, like the Props Atelectic Memory or something. Because that could give Tameo power to attack with. But, you know, we haven't seen that card yet, so maybe it's in the bottom half of their deck. We draw Nimble Obstructionist, and I'm like, okay, this is a card that could get around Counterbalance because I don't need to cast it to get its effect. And they're just playing lands out. Making clue tokens. They already have 7 cards in hand. Unless they play like Reliquary Tower, this is not really too much of a concern. Oh, inexplicably, hold on, shit. Okay, this is insane. I didn't think I did that. So apparently I thought it would be a good idea to cast Nimble Obstructionist. And then they cast Brain Surge to set up a Counterbalance. And they revealed Brain Surge to counter my Nimble Obstructionist. And then I Lightning Bolted Tameo, I think, which resolved. And then somehow a Terminus ended up in the graveyard. Hold on. Sorry, this is really bad content. Okay, yeah, so I cast Nimble. They Brain Surge, obviously counter my... Oh, hold on. Yeah, I bolt in response to the Tameo trigger, that's right. Oh, they discarded Terminus to clean up. Okay, that's what happened. Yeah. Okay, yeah, so Nimble got countered by Counterbalance. Sorry, everyone, this is crappy. And then Lightning Bolt succeeded in defeating Tameo since they had a 3 on top of their deck. Guess they didn't have a Force of Will, or they didn't think it was good enough. So Lurin revealed. They're going to move some things around. They have Mystic Sanctuary number 2, which surprised me a little bit, but it really shouldn't have. They can put Force of Will on top of their deck. And counter my Lurin revealed. Great. At this point, I'm like, okay, this matchup should be really good. I've got like 3 Pyroblasts, and Blue-White Control is one of my best matchups. So I'm starting to look at their clock now. I'm like, if I can just get them below 15 and take game 2, I think I'll be okay. So that's what I'm playing towards now. That's what I'm playing towards now, and it doesn't seem like that bad of an idea either, because we're at 25 cards left in deck, and they haven't even shown me anything that deals damage. So I just play Scalding Tarn and pass. But the fact that they have like a Force of Will and all that, like, not really feeling optimistic about ever resolving anything. They're got then they Island Cycle. There's Tameo number 4. Still doesn't deal damage. I cast Force of Will. They're drawing Scalding Tarn. That's nice. Or maybe they shuffled. They hardcast Force back. Sure, whatever. At this point, I'm kind of just trying to get them to interact any way I can. I Surveil Orcish Bowmasters to the top. That's one of the better ones. Play it right now. pitch cast force. So weirdly, it got them back down to 3 cards in hand and 8 life. So I don't really feel like I'm out for the count. They put thwarts on top of their deck. Hit my mic again. Yeah, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to resolve anything, but the best thing I can do now is just sit back and wait. Amass so many cards with varying CMCs that they can't deal with all of it. And hopefully also drain their clock it while I'm at it. End of turn, they crack a clue, of course. And another one? No, not another one. Then they ponder. They shuffle, so I'm like, okay, maybe they do have a win con somewhere and they're searching for it, because like I feel like it wouldn't be that weird to not shuffle at this point, since they have so few cards left in their library and they're just looking to like establish control with a counterbalance, you know? And I'm like, okay, if Thassa's Oracle is their win con, if I can just get Nimble Obstructionist back in my hand, they probably can't interact with that unless they have like a stifle of their own. So that's where my head is at right now. I've got a Kolaghan's command that can do it, and that's really it, because my Snapcaster Mage is gone. And I'm watching their clock go down, which is also comforting. Yep, Tamiyo's just going crazy. That's the 4th one, might I add. They just had every Tamiyo ever. Okay, so I have 2 answers for Tamiyo, and they're different CMCs, which is really nice. But do they even like care about Tamiyo? Like, what good would the ultimate really do for them right now? Like, if anything, it might even hasten their demise, unless they have the win con I was talking about, Thassa's Oracle or Laboratory Maniac. It's the only thing that really makes sense right now, because they're down to the bottom quarter of their deck, and they haven't dealt any damage to me. All the damage you see here is from fetch lands and Thoughtseize, but they also swords me, so that's why I'm at 18. I draw land, not great. I'm just gonna sit back. They're at 16 cards. They draw a card. Yep. Still nothing. They have a second counterbalance. Sure. Wasn't gonna beat the first one. We're just hanging out. Baleful Strix. Not a bad draw, especially with all this mana to spare. Can check what's on top with counterbalance. It's deduce. Nice. Sucks. Might as well brainstorm now. And it seems like they are willing to let that resolve. Or not, because they want deduce on top of their deck for some reason. Yeah, they counter it with thwart on the hard cast. And then they also shuffle away deduce, and they don't have an island or a mountain left in their deck. They're drawing cards. They're down to 13. They have 10 cards in their hand because they cast deduce for free, I think. Is that what's happening? They cast Brain Surge. Yeah. They did it also by getting all their Mystic Sanctuaries back, so that's some pretty wild, grindy power. I guess you can inflate the number of cards in your library by using Mystic Sanctuary as well. A lot of cool things that play in this deck. But I think they need to win the game. That would be my critique for this deck. You need a way to win. And yeah, they're able to manipulate the top of their deck, put a 1 on top. That goes away. But since it is a 1, I can cast Shielder's Edict and maybe get the 4th Tamiyo finally gone. And yeah, they don't care at all about Tamiyo as a planeswalker, it seems. They just really want the creature. That's all they really care about. Because they didn't even shuffle. And we're still just chilling. Send it back. They're down to 11 minutes. They ponder. I'm like, all right, where's the lab man? Where's the Thassa's Oracle? They don't shuffle with ponder. We're just chilling. Under 11 on clock. We're not doing great either, though, because like I said, it was really late at night, and I wasn't playing super sharp. Sharp enough, hopefully. They play Mystic Sanctuary. Put Ponder on top of their deck. That's not going to help you Lab Man or Thassa's Oracle faster. I draw land. Not good. But like I said, nothing really matters at this point. Just trying to drain their clock. and figure out how they even win. They activate the final clue, and then it all makes sense now. They have Triumph of St. Catherine. That's like their win con. Not sure how many they're running, because I haven't seen a single one until now, when they have 7 cards left in their library. And now I'm thinking, like, is there any way that I can stay alive for 7 turns? Because now that I see Triumph, I'm like, okay, they're probably not on something as crazy as Thassa's Oracle or Laboratory Mania. It could be insane to try and draw your whole deck every game in Legacy. Like, it's not going to happen. And then I realize, oh, I'm halfway through my deck and I haven't seen it cling to dust yet. That's really poor luck, because there is like some weird way I can tread water using cards from my graveyard and having 8 mana in play to overpower their counter magic maybe. I'd have to dodge ones on top with counterbalance, but this is what I'm thinking of right now to try and outlast this Triumph Beats, which is not easy. It's a 5-power creature. And if they keep putting stuff like Force of Will on top of their deck, like, traditional outs don't seem likely. And the burnout route just completely went out the window with that first lifelink trigger, or lifelink attack. Another land, not good. Doesn't take a turn off the clock to activate that Bloodstained Mire. And yeah, not drawing Cling at that point, I'm like, okay, it's not really part of the plan anymore. I think I'm just going to try and waste as much time as possible. Make them click through their counterbalance triggers. They're under 10 minutes on their clock now. I just really need to try and win game 2. Here comes Triumph again. I'm at 1. Definitely going to at least cast this Lightning Bolt. See if I can get them to interact with it in some way. I wish I'd Cling to Dust, because I could waste even more time. But yeah, they're not having it. I did get them below 9 minutes, though, so that's pretty cool. Anyways, off to game 2. I feel like sideboarding is pretty self-explanatory here. Red Blast in, cut 1 Force of Will, cut Brazen Borrower, cut 3 Psychic Frogs. I kept 1 as just like a endgame threat. I brought in 1 Surgical Extraction just because they had, to my eyes, they only had 1 win con, and that was Triumph of St. Catherine. And additionally, just in general, Surgical's not that bad against Triumph because it's such a tenacious threat with recursion. It seemed like a fine card to side in. And I keep this hand because I'm like, okay, I'm going to have time to find blue mana against this deck. It's going to happen. Like, you saw what happened in the last game, unless they side into something super aggressive with, like, Delver of Secrets. And even then, I have Pyroblast and Lightning Bolt and Force of Will. I think this hand is really good. They play Island and pass. We draw a Ponder. I'm like, okay, I'll just play Swamp and pass. They Island Cycle at the end of turn for their second land drop. Play that out and pass it back. No counterbalance is nice. I draw blue mana. I knew I would. Only a matter of time, you know? And now I'm going to cast Ponder. And I see Narset, Lightning Bolt, and Badlands. I'm like, okay, cool. It's a little bit of a bummer that there's not another blue source in there, because Narset seems like a complete hammer in this deck. If I can just put Narset on the stack with Force and Pyroblast backup, I feel like I'd be pretty set here. So I'll be counting on that second Ponder to find a blue source. They keep hitting their land drops, as I expect them to. Like, what else is in this deck, you know? But no Tamiyo yet. That part is nice. But I'm ready for Tamiyo. I've got 3 Lightning Bolts. And the Ponder did not come up with a blue source. Sorry, that went really quickly. So I'm unfortunately forced to shuffle away Narset just because it wasn't going to happen. And yeah, just gotta, sometimes, even if your best card in the matchup is there, I also saw like Sheoldred's Edict, which is not great. Sometimes you're forced to shuffle your library. They play Tundra and pass. I draw Strix, which is like, okay, cool. Now I can start pushing damage. Cast that out. It resolves. And then Narset's back too. And I'm like, okay, cool. So now I can, if I draw a blue card, I can Island Cycle Lorien Revealed for a blue source, and then cast Narset with Forest and Pyroblast backup like I talked about. I draw Orcish Bowmasters. So not quite. However, I still having 8 cards in hand, and I don't want to go to discard, so I'll just hardcast these Bowmasters main phase. They brainstorm in response. I'm not going to fight over that. And Bowmasters is in. And they brainstormed a miracle to the top. It's Terminus. And I'm not going to fight over it. But it is a bummer. We're pretty even on cards in hand. They got 6, I got 7. But hopefully that was all distraction and I can get Narset going here. Yep, there's the blue card I was talking about. Let's send Narset. First they cast Deduce, sure. Then they activate Scalding Tarn. I'm like, okay. They get a Mystic Sanctuary, and they're going to put Brainstorm on top of their deck, because they don't have a counterspell in there. If they had a Thwart or a Force of Will, I imagine they could have just cracked a Clue and put up a fight for Narset. Crack the Clue. Activate Scalding Tarn. Are they going to Brainstorm? They are, okay. So now they're tapped out. I don't need to worry about something like Flusterstorm. And instead of starting a fight, it just resolves. I activate Narset, and it's a frickin' nightmare. I flip 2 lands and 2 creatures. Tough stuff. But I guess my hand is full of instants and sorceries, and so is my graveyard, so maybe it wasn't meant to be. But I feel like Narset usually always finds something. Anyways, they did a little sculpting of their own, and on their draw step, they come over their, what I assume must be their one of Triumphs of St. Catherine. I mean, they might have more, I'm not sure, but yeah. Okay, a little bit of a problem here, though. I just was talking about Flusterstorm, and they have it, so my Force will not work. And if this is their only Triumph, yeah, they need to protect that thing at all costs. So now I'm like, shoot, okay, well, I guess I can try and double bolt this thing. Or maybe Narset will come up with a way to deal with it. I've got my Edicts. Or if maybe Narset finds like a cantrip, I can like put a Strix in front of it or something. I feel like there's a lot of ways to deal with this card. I draw Tamiyo, which I'm like, okay, well, if they attack Narset off the field, maybe Tamiyo can carry the torch here. First things first, I think I should activate Narset, right? If we ever get there. There we go. Shoot. I don't think the other cards are too important. It was like Thoughtseize and something. And instead of like taking Thoughtseize to try and punch a hole, I'd rather take the absolute answer. I don't really want a double bolt Triumph. I'll do it in an emergency, but instead let's just Edict here. And yeah, they don't fight over it, which is shocking to me. So I cast Tamiyo and hope to dodge for a little bit. And it's not that card, so that's cool. They cast Counterbalance. I immediately Pyroblast that because I'm just not trying to add that complication to it. They Swords my Tamiyo, which is a bummer. And now they have 4 cards in hand, so I'm like, okay, this makes more sense. Maybe they didn't have Counter Magic. I draw Polluted Delta, which is not too exciting, but it will let me Surveil. And my hand is really weak. It's just 3 Lightning Bolts. But hopefully this Narset is like not letting them their deck do anything, because as you saw in game 1, all they really do is crack clues and draw cards and stuff and cast Tamiyos. Unfortunately for me, it only took 2 turns for Triumph to come back. There it is. Sticky threat. Hard to deal with. Alright. This better be a good Surveil. It's a Thoughtseize. I don't know if I kept that. Or I think I did, because then I'd be certain about This double bolt working out? Yeah, I kept the Thoughtseize. Thoughtseize you. They have response. Mystic Sanctuary for deduce, sure. Then what happened? I think it was maybe what? Oh, hardcast Force of Will, sure. That's good enough for me. I guess deduce is a good way to eke out card advantage through Narset. But they're down to 2 cards in hand. I'm just going to double bolt. And that way, it gets the deduce off the top of their deck, kind of moves things around a little bit, and also makes it so their Misty Rainforest isn't something they really want to crack. And fortunately, we dodge. It's not back right away. That is super nice. What isn't super nice is drawing Swamp, and I'm like, oh god, am I going to lose to this deck? Like, starting to kind of feel like I'm going to lose I'm going to lose O2 to this deck. They just dropped under 5 in their clock, but that's plenty of time to send with Triumph of St. Catherine, and the rate of play has dramatically increased, I should add. But I dodge again. They send it back. Then I draw Kolaghan's Command, and I'm like, sweet. And then I'm like, wait a minute. Not really that sweet, actually. They've exiled every creature I've played or Terminist. So I guess what I'll have to do is just use Kolaghan's Command plus Lightning Bolt to defeat Triumph of St. Catherine the next time it shows up. Which is, like, not great, because anytime there's, like, a 2-step answer to a creature or a threat, they can disrupt either half of the equation. It's kind of like they got a 2-for-1 or even a 3-for-1. But I'd lead on Kolaghan's Command in this case. Getting them to discard might make it impossible. You never know. I dodge, Triumph again, but that also means they have 5 cards in hand, so I'm like, oh god. The draw of Pyroblast is kind of cool, though, because if they do have a way to prevent me from taking Triumph out with this terrible 2-pronged plan, maybe I can Pyroblast and force it through. Still dodge. That part's good. They cast Counterbalance, and I'm like, okay, I don't really want to add that complication to it either, so I give up on my protection to make sure they don't resolve Counterbalance. I think it's worth it. And is it time yet? Nope, still not time. It must be card number 6. I'm feeling super lucky. Right? Yeah, that was turn 10. There might be one more draw in between. I'm going to end step these Bowmasters because just got to get this game over with. I draw Brainstorm, which is pretty sweet. Cast it. And I see everything I could ever want. Edict, keep that Triumph at bay. And even better, Psychic Frog. Like, that could even be bigger than a 5/5 with enough investment. I should do it right now. So now they kind of have a tough choice, like Bowmasters or Psychic Frog for their removal. Plays into Terminus a little bit, though. They cast Deduce. And they still haven't found Triumph, so it's got to be the next card, right? There's no way it's not the next card. And they thwart, so that's kind of a bummer. But I can K-Command it back, so that part's cool. Push for 3. Okay, so Triumph must be the next card, right? Yep, there it is. Casual 8 cards in hand, thanks to Thwart. 3 of them are islands, but still. And they're going to put Force in their hand. Again, I'm like, shoot, where is my Cling to Dust? This is hurting. However, they can't draw because of Narset, so I have a pretty clean window here to cast Sheoldred's Edict, and if that doesn't work, maybe I can K-Command plus Bolt. Push for 3 again. I'm hoping to dodge Triumph for like 1 turn, please. It works. That is really nice. Now I'm thinking if I can just get this attack in, I actually have the reach in my hand to do this, and then it's going to be really hard for them to win in 3 minutes. And we get to damage, so feeling pretty darn good. And I'm like, oh no, Triumph is back already. That part is bad. Then they play Mystic Sanctuary on Thwart, so they'll be getting that back if I don't do something about it. However, they can't draw right now because I have Narset. But also, if I do something that makes them want to crack a clue token on my turn, I can get a Bowmaster's trigger, and that plus Lightning Bolt can also end the game. But let's do this first thing. Get Psychic Frog back and deal 2 to them. That eats a Force of Will. And they have Thwart on top of their deck. I draw Sink into Stupor, so I'm like, okay, cool. I don't need to do too many mental gymnastics here. I can just bounce Triumph, swing for 3. Didn't do anything about it last turn. And then cast Lightning Bolt. Cool. We're taking it to game 3, everyone. But during sideboarding, they just conceded because I don't think they felt like they could win a game in 2 minutes and 42 seconds, which is fair. Yeah, so that was the trophy. Felt like the deck performed quite well. Let's see here. Yeah, this was it. For a wrap up, still not really sure like what the right number of frogs is. I don't like giving credit to removal spells, but if the card is just that much of an engine, I think we'll see. I think the Crucible is approaching. I think we'll see really how integral this card is to a post-Modern Horizons 3 format in Grixis control pretty soon. And I think it will remain a fine choice, but if I had to bet, I would say it's probably just one of many choices you could make for like an efficient threat that runs away with the game after you establish control. Like Jace or Sorin might still be better. They cost more mana, but they might be better than Psychic Frog because they dodge a lot more different types of common removal. But yeah, hopefully y'all enjoyed this replay video. Usually it's going to be, probably going to go back to, I'm definitely going to have more live footage going forward, but yeah, I just wanted to document this trophy and make sure I keep everyone up to date here. And yeah, please like, comment, and subscribe. Let's keep on rocking towards 1,000, get Grixis control on the map, and yeah, keep the Grixis dream alive. I'll see you next time.